what does my brand represent? Sexual freedom, freedom of sexual orientation, freedom from societal gender norms and sexist limitations, freedom of choice, freedom to express oneself, freedom of bodily expression, freedom of liberation of the mind, freedom of and through consciousness, freedom of mind, freedom of soul and of spirit. And I want to focus on women within the sex industry, women who are erotic models such as myself and as my friends, and women who are dancers and of all kinds. But also I want to allow for men to also express themselves, but this is a platform for women and by women to shed light and help liberate women's freedom, really, to be honest with you. And I hope to also help men find and liberate themselves to be the truest and most authentic selves that they could also be. How do we become the truest version of ourselves? Well, it starts by getting back to our roots and who we are in our essence, in our basic essence. So whatever build you are, whatever form you have chosen to express yourself in this life, that is the essence that I'm talking about. And now focusing on women, because for hundreds of years we have conformed to the patriarchal system, the solar calendar, the way of the West, the capitalist way of consistent hard work, 8 to 5 type of job, working hard, working our way to the top. These are all masculine structures that we have been told to conform to. And yes, we have fought for liberation as women, and that was beautiful, and we needed to do that, and we still need to do that. However, women are different to men. We have a womb, we have a menstrual cycle, we are flow, men are structure, and there are two different sides to the coin, but we are more powerful when we are in our essence, and I'll explain to you why. So the moon can't be the sun, and the sun can't be the moon. You wouldn't have the egg without the chicken, and you wouldn't have the chicken without the egg. But it all started with the chicken. The mother gave birth to the children. The womb is the giver of life, and we need to honor that. And so we need to look and get back to our roots across multinational and multicultural spheres. We need to look at the essence of feminine energy, which is in women and men, and what that frequency is, and backed up by science. Okay, and how does it relate to masculine energy? So if you look at the hormones of men and women, men follow the circadian rhythm, which is ruled by the sun, which is a 24-hour clock, and that is consistent. Whereas a woman follow another rhythm where all hormones flow with this lunar calendar. Not being in touch with your feminine energy can bring harm to oneself. It can make you ill physically, and it can make life more challenging because you are in resistance to the flow. If I can compare the woman to the elements, I would compare women to water. Water flows, and it's powerful. And in many ancient cultures, water was represented as a feminine essence. In ancient African cultures, they would call the ocean as Yemanya. It's the goddess of the ocean, which is also represented by a mermaid, and Mummy Water, also Mother Water. And I would compare men to earth, ground, earth, which is stability. And to operate in these two different dimensions or areas, it takes a different kind of operation system. You can't float on ground, you have to walk on it. You are now ruled by gravity. And when you get into the water, you can't walk in the water. You are now bound by the rules of the water. And so the same applies for feminine and masculine energy. Women are flow. Masculine energy is the time, the structure, the 12 hours in a day, the 12 hours in a clock, and women are what you do in that time. It's the flow between it all. The path of least resistance. If anyone has spoken about or heard about the law of attraction, you will know that it's the path of least resistance that allows you to attract that which you want. The path of least resistance makes you more powerful. And if you resist, you go against the flow. Okay? You can attract more positive experiences. And then, once you are in touch with your main essence and you are in the flow with your main essence, then you can delve safely into the other essence that is within you. Only once you have mastered as a woman your feminine energy can you safely delve into your masculine self. Masculine energy is a shield. It protects. It is the structure. And within is the softness. Like a crab, the outer shell is hard and the interior is soft. You can't have one without the other. But a woman cannot be in her masculine essence because she is not a man. Her body, her physical essence is feminine. Her womb receives. She's not a giver. Yes, she gives and she gives life, but her essence is a receiver. And so, in my spiritual understanding, the chicken is there before the egg. So in order for a woman to attract that which she wants, she needs to be completely in her passive, feminine, receiving self in order for that which vibrates more perfectly to her, okay? And men are, for some reason, I've seen and I've encountered so many men are tapping into their feminine self more, which is making them weak. And they need to, not all men, I'm just generalizing, they are acting in the flow instead of the structure. They are acting as receivers instead of givers, wanting to be protected instead of being protectors. And that is an imbalance, but it is all part of the divine plan. I believe that once women have fully embraced their feminine essence, can men now fully start stepping into their masculine essence to match the divine feminine across the world, okay? So, only a truly powerful woman balances the yin and the yang. If a woman is in her masculine essence, that's toxic. And if a man overly embraces his yin, his feminine essence, that's also toxic, because he's not in his it's the path, that's the path of resistance. Okay, because women who are in an overly protective state, in an overly action state, are going against the flow, and they have to work hard to get what they want. But a woman who rests in her complete essence of femininity and receptivity, she is a manifester of note. And why I say a woman is a manifester more than a man, because feminine energy is a manifester. We are manifesting generators, because every single month a woman plants, she has a womb, and the womb is like a magnetic force to those things that she wants. And anyone who knows witchcraft or spirituality knows that to make a spell really powerful, you need an intention and blood, a sacrifice. And women have blood every single month. A man may sacrifice and with his intention create something, create a spell. Okay, that's now if you are into that. But a woman naturally has that ability. She can orgasm more often than a man, continually. Okay, she and through her orgasms she can manifest whatever she wants, because that sexual energy is consistently through her. A woman is sexual energy. A man holds sexual energy, because sexual energy is in nature feminine. Although men contain it, they give it. Women are it. They are creators. Men have creation energy. Their sperm, they contain, but they cannot create life. They contain creation energy. Women are creation energy. So every single month we have the ability to manifest whatever we desire. So we are manifesting generators, whereas men have it. And I'm not saying that they are not powerful. They, in their truest, most authentic selves, they do it through endurance, through persistence, through consistency, and through their pure drive, will, and determination, because they are constant, because they are strong physically and mentally, and through logic. That is the essence. Women, yes, we have that too, but our main power is natural manifesting abilities every single month. The path of least resistance allows you to increase your vibration. So the more you are in your essence, the more happier you will be, the more powerful you become. And that way you can naturally attract energies that are in line with who you are. And the higher your vibration, the faster it is. People in a lower vibration have slow vibrations, slow frequencies. Lower vibration, slow frequency. High vibration, fast frequency. And so another note that I want to say is that women who are more in touch with their essence and their femininity and who they are, and following the path of least resistance, if you have any illness in your body, or if you are overweight, or if you are struggling in an area, but you start tuning more into your essence as a woman, the weight naturally falls off. When you eat according to your body and not according to a rigid diet that is a more masculine way of eating, a solid meal in the morning, a solid meal in the afternoon, and a solid meal if you stop following the consistency of a masculine diet, which is what normally bodybuilders do, and you eat more in line with where you are in your period, which cycle are you in, because right after your period, in what is a woman, what is a woman. So I find that this topic is really important, although we've existed on this planet for hundreds and hundreds of years. For some reason, there seems to be a misunderstanding and not a complete understanding of what it means to be a woman. And I'm not saying that I'm the only one at all that knows this. There are plenty of women who understand, but let's dig deep together. What is the purpose and meaning of being a woman, and what do we bring that men don't bring to the world? Okay. And also, disclaimer, this is not, I'm completely supportive of the LGBTQ community. I just want to, let's extrapolate what it means to be a woman. Okay, so let's begin. So firstly, I equate woman with the moon. And why I say this is because the menstrual cycle follows the lunar cycle, which is a 29.5 day on average cycle. It goes from the waxing moon to the full moon to the waning moon and to the full moon. Okay, and so that's 29.5 days, and the menstrual cycle also goes from pre-ovulatory, ovulatory, premenstrual, and menstrual. So you can categorize it more or less into 4 categories. And why the moon is also because the moon is a receiver of the light from the sun, and the moon fluctuates constantly, revolving around the earth, and the sun is always constant and always shining. And so that is why in ancient cultures such as Chinese, the yin and the yang represents the masculine and the feminine. Everyone holds within them a different ratio of masculine and feminine, but this is also dependent on what your physical body is composed of. So some men who contain the natural capacity to be a man, they have more masculine energy in them. Women with the womb contain more feminine inside of them. And of course, some men will have more feminine and some women will have more masculine. But I'm just looking at it from a very general point of view. So you can also categorize the lunar cycle as well as the menstrual cycle according to the 4 seasons. That is spring, summer, autumn, and winter. If you cut the month into 4 quarters, that will be about 7 days. And the maximum that a woman would have a period is about 7 days. Some women have it 3 days, but that is just the overall general category. Okay, so I got a rough drawing over here that I'm just going to explain. Okay, so let's start with springtime, which is pre-ovulatory, which is the waxing moon. Okay, so in this period of a woman's after her period, it's now fresh. Now she starts creating and affirming her intentions, inspiring change, and setting goals and planning for the next month. Now, because of history, many years ago, the Western civilization, mainly the Catholic Church, has based our calendar on the solar calendar and taken away the lunar calendar. In the lunar calendar, there used to be 13 months. That represented the 13 times there was a full moon in a year. But now they made it 12 months, which has taken us off the natural flow of our existence. And of course, men are influenced by the moon, but they are not as strongly associated and affected by the moon as women are. And that is because men also have yin, which is the feminine quality, inside of them, but they are not dominated by yin energy. They are dominated by yang energy, which is the sun, represents the sun, which represents consistency, action, perseverance, endurance, and the moon represents the subconscious. So the sun represents the conscious, which is the daylight, so we can see everything very clearly, and the moon represents the subconscious, where then at night, magically, we can see that we actually exist in a huge cosmos called the universe. And we can see the stars, and we can see where north and south and east and west is. We can see the beauty of the constellation. These things we would not know if it was always sun, if we were always conscious. And so you can also equate that to death and life. So the daytime represents life and the nighttime represents death. And every single time we go to sleep, it represents the time we die, and then morning comes and we wake and we are alive again. So just like in that sense, we die and we come back to life again, and then we die and we come back to life again. And so that's why I also follow very much, it follows the Buddhist and Hindu belief system of reincarnation, but I'll also get back to that in another time about reincarnation and what I believe regarding that. But so, okay, so then it's spring, okay, and in this period of time, women also need to eat a certain type of way in order for us to go and live more in the flow of who we are naturally, so that we can live a better version of ourselves naturally. Because going against the flow, being in resistance to the flow, is not going to do us very good. The pre-ovulatory phase, your appetite decreases as your estrogen increases. So your appetite is naturally decreased, and that is naturally like that, because as your appetite increases, that is because your heightened spirituality increases and your vibration goes super intense. By the time you're on your period, you need to eat that heavier food, whatever you crave, whatever you desire, but in a healthy way, that whatever is good for you, you need to eat those heavier foods so that you can bring yourself back down and ground yourself. So part 2 is summer, and this represents the new moon, the full moon, the full moon, whereas the menstrual period is the new moon. Okay, why the full moon? The full moon is now when the fruits have ripened. Okay, now the moon is full and represents what we have previous month manifested and what we can now take from that fruit. So it represents summer, and summer time we normally harvest the fruits of our labor. So that's also more or less 7 days, and it's the time we feel free, the time we socialize and connect. We are most active, we want to go out there, we want to socialize, and it's also the time that we feel that we are, statistically, they've proven, more attractive to the opposite sex, or to most people. Even our pheromones are most dominant, so people are most attracted to us. And it's also the time that you continue, because it's actually the masculine essence of the whole menstrual cycle, and the lunar cycle. The full moon represents the little white dot in the yin aspect. It's now the masculine aspect of the full menstrual cycle. So we are more active and we're out there, action orientated, and we can get things done. And we have deep love and sharing for those around us. It's all about love and harmony and productivity. And so in the previous one was spring, that also represented the virgin phase of a woman's life. So a woman has 4 phases in her life. That's the virgin, the mother, the enchantress, and the last one is the witch. Okay, so now she's in her motherly phase, because now she's also most fertile, so she can make a baby more easily during her ovulatory phase. Okay, so then we move on to the waning moon, which is the autumn season, and that is the time when you should be eating more autumn-like foods, which is grains, rich brown seeds, think autumn colors, and that's what we should be eating. And also not so much meat, because the week before your period, if you want to make your period less painful, what ancient civilizations used to do in tribes was cut down on the meat and have a more vegetarian diet, so that the period thereafter, the 7 days after that, would be a little bit lighter and less painful, because you want to thin your blood. So in this period, the previous 2 weeks was the follicular phase, and the next 2 weeks are going to be are the luteal phase. Okay, so there's also different types of seeds and foods that you should eat in these 2 different periods. So in the waning phase of the period, the premenstrual phase, the enchantress phase, and the autumn phase, one should be finalizing your projects, feeling gratitude, must evaluate and journal how you can improve, and just tie up loose ends. And now your intuition becomes heightened, and you start having visions and things like that. You are more aware and more and very powerful. Then you move on to the your period. Okay, the menstrual phase represents the nighttime, just as the ovulation phase represents the masculine and the sun and the consciousness. Now the menstrual phase represents the subconscious, where all the subconscious truths inside of us start coming to the surface. And so we go into our little cave, we go and we meditate, and we feel pain. And one thing I learned in my experience is that sometimes you feel pain, you feel your physical pain, but you also feel emotional pain. A lot of women feel this, and that's why a lot of men don't want to be surrounded by women on their period, is because they're very heightened emotionally and psychically. And so all these past wounds, past pains, lies, deception, things that they didn't know, they start surfacing. And so what I learned is that women feel to know, and men know to feel. Because sometimes you feel pain emotionally during this time because you're feeling physical pain, or your emotional pain starts coming to the surface, and you can't put your finger on why you are feeling this emotional pain. But as you dig deeper and you sift through those emotions, you start to pick up on why it is you're feeling pain, and you start realizing what traumas and what deeper knowledge it is leading you to, which is pretty amazing. And so in ancient cultures, women were celebrated for their menstrual cycle. In many cultures, ancient tribes, and still today in many tribes, like in the Native Americans, they had the moon lodge, where women, when it was their period, because women were in sync, they would go to a certain section of the tribe, separated themselves, not because they were shunned by the community, no, because they were very heightened psychically, and so they could help the tribe with all their psychic insights during this time, and supporting each other and sticking together, because women sticking together are way more powerful. They would be more powerful than the shamans themselves in these tribes, because then they could reveal deep insights that a man could not get. Okay. And so also, okay, so this is the time a woman needs to be quiet. It's the time of inward reflection. It's the time to sleep and dream and slow down and kind of go into her cave, all right? And to accept her past wounds and uncertainty, so make sense of all the subconscious truths coming to the light. Okay, and another thing is that when the new moon and the full moon, it can be either or. Sometimes a woman has her period on the full moon, but normally most women have their period on the new moon, which is when it's black and you can't see the moon. That represents the nighttime, the cave. Okay, and they would say that women who have their period on the full moon are known to be the white witches, women who don't bear children, and the opposite is true for women who bear children. That's all I wanted to say, and thank you so much for listening to me. This is the start of new videos to come, and I appreciate your ears for listening, and stay tuned for the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate that. Bye guys.